Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first Behind Enemy Lines podcast of the season. We're back with the show on the Blood Red channel, courtesy of the Liverpool Echo, with myself, Patrick Smith, as Liverpool prepare for their first home game of the season against Crystal Palace under the Anfield lights on Monday night. Well, it's far from ideal from the Reds as they struggled to snatch a 2-2 draw at newly promoted Fulham, whilst Palace fell 2-0 at home to Arsenal last Friday. Well, joining me now to talk through all things Crystal Palace and preview the upcoming clash is Sylvester, a Crystal Palace reporter with the Morning Star. Gene, welcome to the show, and how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you, and thanks a lot for having me on.
Very good to have you here. So let's get stuck right in. I'll give you a simple question to start. What can Liverpool fans expect from Crystal Palace on Monday, if you could give us a general overview?
Yeah, I think obviously going off Palace's performance obviously against Arsenal, I think he showed the two sides of Crystal Palace, if you like. The side where they can be got at very easily, where the defence can be a little bit disorganised, but the second half showed their resilience and their ability to actually put teams under pressure as well once they're settled into their game. Obviously, it's early in the season. They've lost a few players, obviously Christian Benteke leaving the club. Callum Gallagher, who was a big loss for them, obviously going back to Chelsea now after his loan spell. So they've lost a bit of the cut and thrust, if you like, they had in the midfield with Callum Gallagher in there. But they've got the new guy come in, Czech Decore, the midfielder from Lens, who's come in. Not in the same mould as Callum Gallagher, a much more composed, deeper sitting midfielder, very much in the mould of Patrick Vieira himself, to be honest with you. So I think with that inclusion in the team, they're going to have a little bit more composure in the midfield probably. But yeah, I think they'll be coming in and looking to get as much as they can out of the game, and I think a draw they'd be more than happy with just to get their season up and running.
Well, yeah, you mentioned Decore there. Palace, he turned a lot of heads last season. To be fair, young, attacking, exciting side. Loads of people this season calling them dark horses for a top half push this season. So what's changed between last season's side and this season? You mentioned there how you've now got the deep sitting Decore rather than Gallagher.
You're breaking up a little bit, Pat, but I think you're asking the question as to what's changed between this season and last season in regards to their performance levels and maybe their approach to the game now. I think Callum Gallagher was a huge part of their system last year. I think we saw Patrick Vieira come in to take over from Roy Hodgson, and obviously he came with a much more progressive approach in terms of their play, and as a result, Callum Gallagher really fit into that. Then you had the young Michael Elise as well, who was brought in and really put some really good performances in out on the right hand side as well. So as a result, they were much more confident going forward. They were able to create a lot more chances. They were much more comfortable in possession of the ball as well. I think now with Callum Gallagher going, they lose a bit of that going forward. Even though I think the hope is that Eze will step into that mould now going forward. I think my personal opinion is that in terms of Eze, he has great ability. He's got the ability, the natural ability to really be a big player. He doesn't have the energy of Gallagher. Gallagher, as we saw last season, he really puts himself about as well as being able to provide an impact in the final third of the pitch as well. I think they lose that cut and thrust that I say with Eze. However, with Eze in the team, he's one of those players that at the flick of a switch, he can just turn a game on its head with one piece of brilliance, and that's something that Liverpool are going to have to be kind of weary of, if you like, come Monday night.
Yeah, I mean, Eze is certainly one of the most exciting ones, So what do you think? Eze's obviously a talent. You've got Elise, Zaha, there's so many strong players. What is the main area of strength for Palace then? Who are the key days when, where can they really hurt Liverpool on Monday night?
Yeah, good question. I think for me, in terms of them going forward, they have the big striker Mateta, who at the end of last season he was starting to get more games. I think definitely under the Roy Hodgson regime after he scored on his debut against their local rivals Brighton, and with a great backheeled effort. And Roy Hodgson didn't seem to really fancy him, but since Patrick Vieira's come in, they've been getting a lot more opportunities on the pitch, and he's really putting some really great performances. One of his best performances last season was against Manchester City at Selhurst Park when they drew 0-0, and he really ran the back four ragged with his pace, with his strength, and the ability to hold up the ball and bring other players into play as well. So for me, I think if Patrick does go with Mateta starting from the start, I think he's the one that could really cause problems for us, in terms of our back four. He'll really get in amongst obviously Virgil and Joel in the middle of the park there, and that can obviously bring in opportunities for other players. So for me, that's the biggest danger. As I mentioned, Eze, you can never really write him off. You can never be too complacent when he's on the pitch. He can obviously pull out a moment of brilliance out of his hat. And also you've got obviously Wilfried Zaha, who again, the long-standing Palace talisman, who usually comes up with an important goal every now and then for them. Probably not as regular as he used to, probably before his Man United stint. But yeah, definitely there's a couple of players there that I think on their day can definitely cause us problems. And the last one I'm going to actually add, which not a lot of people talk about, is Jordan Ayew. I mean, the work rate that he puts in down that right is ridiculous, so he'll be tracking Robbo back and then he'll be taking the other way as well. Very strong in possession of the ball. He'll win free kicks, in that final third as well, giving them opportunities to load the box. So yeah, there's a few different threats, if you like, that we need to be aware of. And obviously going after the Fulham game on Saturday, I think we need to be really taking Palace as serious contenders again to come up there and try and get something.
Yeah, Ayew is often criminally underrated, isn't he? He's the forgotten man of that Palace attack, really. I'm going to ask you now the flip side of that previous question. What are the weak spots in Palace's side, and where will Liverpool look to mainly exploit them?
Yeah, good question again. For me, the weak spots are their fullback positions, which obviously falls right into Liverpool's hands, obviously with the ability that we have out wide. I think the young boy, Tyrick Mitchell, I think he suffered a blow of confidence pretty much since his England debut, actually. I think he was really highly rated. He was putting in some really good, solid performances for the club, hence why, obviously, and the call-up to the England squad. Didn't have the greatest game in the game. I can't remember who England were playing at the time, but didn't have the greatest game. And to be fair, since then, he hasn't seemed to really get back up to that level of performance that he was showing that earned him the call-up in the first place. I definitely think Tyrick Mitchell is definitely an area that Liverpool can exploit. The other one being the right back area, where I don't know if Patrick really knows his first choice right back, if you like. He's got obviously a choice between Joel Ward and obviously Nathaniel Clyne, obviously an ex-Liverpool player. Neither, I think, have really provided the confidence that Patrick Vieira would like in his right back. So I think he went with Clyne on against Arsenal. Could well be going with Joel Ward coming back into the squad again for the Liverpool game, probably with a bit more experience. I say a bit more experience. I keep forgetting how old Clyne is. He's forever young for me. But yeah, he may well go back with Joel Ward, who's probably a little bit more defensively solid and astute maybe than Clyne is, where Clyne's ability has always really been going forward, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Nathaniel Clyne, it's such a shame to see the spiral of his career because he was so promising at Liverpool. Those horrible injuries. He's still coming back from it now, and hopefully he can get to the shell of the play. But I think Ward's probably the better shout defending against Luis Diaz as well, because that'd be a return to Anfield to forget for Nathaniel Clyne potentially. But the main talk with Palace, there's 3 weeks left of the transfer window, just under 3 weeks. Vieira spoke at his press conference today that he wants to strengthen the squad. You mentioned at the top of the show, you've lost Christian Benteke, former Liverpool player. Now, do you think if Palace were to recruit, do you think you need to recruit a striker? Is that the main area of concern? You've got those amazing attacking options playing off the striker, but there's not quite the bagsman up front, is there?
Indeed. Yeah, you're right. If I'm honest with you, however, I still believe that maybe the midfield department is where they really need to do some business. And they've lost Cheick Tiote, obviously, who moved on. I think he left on a free. I'm not sure where he's gone. I think he might have gone maybe to Qatar. Now, or he's looking at options definitely in that region of the world. Obviously, we've lost Conor Gallagher, if you like, as well from the club also. So I think at the moment they're probably scraping. I shouldn't say scraping the barrel, but they're looking at having to now deploy players who last season were probably seen as as squad players. For example, Jeffrey Schlupp, who started the game against Arsenal on Friday as well. Last season, he wasn't really a starter, definitely came in for certain games. Again, he's got certain qualities that I know Vieira likes in terms of, again, that strength and pace and directness, if you like, from the middle of the park. But I think in terms of their recruitment going forward, my personal opinion is the midfield area is definitely a priority for them. Obviously, they've got Edouard and Mateta up front, as you say. I think the problem with them maybe is that they don't get the service maybe that they require. I think you've got Wilfried Zaha, who we know likes to hold on to the ball probably a little bit longer than he should do most times. I think when Elise's in the team, I think he's a great source of ammunition for the strikers, because he really looks to get in on his left foot and get a quick whipped crossing. So I think someone like Mateta with his obviously presence would definitely benefit from that. So yeah, I think midfield area and definitely I think the fullback areas as well. again, they lost the left back, the Dutch left back, which I can't remember his name now, Van Aanholt, sorry, who left obviously last season. They don't really have the backup in that area for Tyreek Mitchell anymore, someone to provide the competition for him, if you like. So they really could do with maybe recruiting in the fullback areas as well and really make that defence a little bit more solid. They did great business with Anderson and Guy in terms of solidifying and bringing some youth back into the centre of the defence for them. I think they could do with getting some more youth maybe around them in the fullback areas, and yeah, just a bit more solidity there, if you like.
Yeah, Mark Gay is someone I love as a player. No idea why Chelsea. I mean, they've let so many players go, Chelsea, from their academy, but he's another one on that long line, especially centre halves. What are they doing letting him go? But another Chelsea academy boy, Conor Gallagher, obviously was on loan last season. Do you think Palace are missing him slightly this year? Because the games from last season against Liverpool, Gallagher was so impressive. Remember the one at Palace, the late fight back. Well, yes. Liverpool held off the late fight back with that for being a penalty. Are they really missing Conor Gallagher so far this season? Because obviously they've been goalless against Arsenal, struggling with attacking options. Are they almost missing that threat from midfield?
Without a doubt. I think Conor Gallagher, what he brought to Palace last season was a little bit of pizzazz, if you like, in the middle of the park. Even though, as I say, he's got it in his makeup to actually get stuck in as well, which is a great combination to have. Kind of reminds me again of a bit of Luis Suarez. He had the silky skills, but he'd also get stuck in when he needed to. So they really missed that pizzazz from the middle of the park, that attacking intent from the middle of the park to really back up the strikers. I think I've heard whispers that Palace are probably going to look to see whether they may be able to get him back on loan again this season. If you look at Conor, obviously at Chelsea are blessed within the midfield department, and obviously they're looking at still bringing in more recruitment. Obviously looking like the De Jong deal might go through there, so he may be looking at that and saying, well, my chances are still going to be limited here. It's a World Cup year. He started to flirt with the World Cup with the England squad, as well. So he'd probably be harbouring hopes of getting on that plane to Qatar as well. So for me, it's not out of the woods yet, or it's not out of the realms of possibility that he may find himself back at Palace for another season loan, which I think would benefit the player. I think it benefits Palace, and it also benefits Chelsea because he gets another year's experience, Premier League experience under his belt as well. But yeah, definitely from the first game, you just didn't see where that spark was coming from. Whenever Gallagher got on the ball last season, there was a real uplift in the crowd. He was always looking to make incisive passes, always going for the return ball, always looking to take a shot on from the edge of the box. Really exciting player, and Chelsea are looking to have him. So yeah, I think Palace will be hoping they can maybe work something out and bring him back on loan again this season.
Yeah, definitely a move that makes sense for everyone. Chelsea with their team on midfield, it's going to be difficult for him. And obviously now with the World Cup squad size being enhanced, there's probably a chance for other teams to take another midfielder. So I think he'll definitely be looking at a move. But let's move back round to Palace. So generally this season, what would look like success? I mean, naturally for teams like Palace, it's you want a cup run, either the League Cup, the FA Cup. Obviously got to the semi-finals last year, unfortunately lost that. Would they hope for the same again, or maybe even a shock charge for Europe if things go well?
Yeah, I think Palace fans are really happy if they're solidifying a top 10 position. I think a top 10, bearing in mind they've flirted with relegation for so many years. Also the fact that Patrick Vieira brought this new brand of football to the club as well, which is much more entertaining, obviously, than the Roy Hodgson area. So I think the fans really appreciate that and appreciate the fact that the team is a lot more progressive and actually looking to go and actually impose their game on teams as opposed to just sitting back and soaking up and trying to hit on the break. So as a result, I think the fans have the patience with Patrick Vieira in terms of what he's trying to do. They can see what he's trying to do. So I think they'll be happy with a top 10 finish if they're comfortably within the top 10 and not having to look over their shoulders come March next year. I think that would be more than, if you like, acceptable for the Palace fans. Yeah, I think obviously the cup run they had last year, I think that gave them a bit of a taste, if you like, for the big time, right, in terms of the cup competitions. So I'm sure they'll be looking probably, with a bit of a side eye and maybe trying to go deep into one of the cup competitions again this season. I've got to say, what a shame Liverpool didn't meet Palace in that final. It would have been an absolutely amazing atmosphere. Palace really, really bought. And funnily enough, they were at the same end as the Liverpool fans were in the previous semi-final as well. And that end just seemed to be the end, which luckily enough was where we were sitting. So yeah, they really came with a great atmosphere. So yeah, I'd love to have seen Liverpool versus Palace at the final, just for the atmosphere alone.
Maybe there'll be another cup run this year. It's certainly exciting times. I mean, I've got a lot of respect for Roy Hodgson as a man, but any Roy Hodgson side moving to a new manager, it's going to be exciting no matter who's the new boss, I think, in that scenario. But let's bring it back down. Yeah, those PTSD memories of circa 2011. getting bullied in school every morning about Roy Hodgson's team. Anyway, let's move back to Monday night. So are there any notable injuries or suspensions within the Crystal Palace squad who've missed the match at Anfield?
Yeah, so Michael Elise is probably the biggest omission from the opening day fixture. I believe he's back in training now, and I think Patrick in his press conference today mentioned the fact that he could well be included in the squad come Monday, but it's probably unlikely that he'll start the match. So that's the main suspension really there. In terms of a player that would come straight into the starting lineup had he been fit previously. Other than that, they've pretty much got a fully fit squad. I think James MacArthur probably is another one that's still down with an injury as well. So those are the two main injury concerns for Crystal Palace. So I foresee them probably going with a pretty similar lineup to the one they started with at home against Arsenal. And I say the only possible kind of toss-up is between maybe Klein and Joel Ward, but otherwise I think they'll go with the same, especially with their second half performance where they started to actually get it together. I think they'll probably go with that starting lineup again and an opportunity again to go and see if they can put in a similar performance as their second half performance suggested on Friday.
I mean, yeah, you touched on my next question there. The next one was, what do you reckon the shape and starting 11, if you had to predict it, will be for Palace?
Yeah, I think they're going obviously with Gaeta as a goalkeeper. Again, Joel Ward on Nathaniel Klein right back, and then it'll be Anderson, Gay, and Mitchell at the left back position. Then I think they'll be starting with Decore in the middle, Jeffrey Schlupp, and Eze. Eze being obviously the furthest forward of the three in the middle of the park. Then they'll be more than likely going with Zaha on the left. Then they'll probably go with Edouard. I think they might actually switch out Edouard for Mateta. I think, again, as I talked about earlier, Mateta's physical presence alone and also target man kind of attributes allows them to look for that out ball, obviously, if they are under pressure at Anfield on Monday night. So I think Mateta may come in for Edouard, and then I think they'll stick with, I'll say, the workhorse Ayew on the right-hand side as well. So, yeah, that's my prediction for their lineup on Monday.
Good stuff. And now for the last and most hated question on this podcast of a score prediction. It's actually quite an interesting one because you are a Liverpool fan but a Crystal Palace supporter, so you might not be as downbeat as most of the guests on the show with a score prediction. So go on, give you a shout for the game. Yeah,
I mean, I'm going 3-0 if I'm honest with you. I think Klopp would have got into the players after that performance on the weekend. I think we were really lethargic. I was at the game as well, reporting for the Morning Star. We just seemed really lethargic. Fulham just didn't give us time to settle on the ball. We wanted too much time on the ball at times. So I don't think we'll get two performances like that in a row. So I think Liverpool will really come out fighting. It's the first game at Anfield of the season as well. Obviously, the atmosphere is going to be electric. So I really see us putting in a really good performance. I'm going to say 3-0. I'm going to say hopefully another goal for Darwin as well.
Yeah, absolutely the same for me. I'll go 4-0 just to be a bit different. I think they need a big reaction after that match at Fulham, and that, young Klopp sides often when they've had a bad result come out and absolutely smash someone. Unfortunately for Palace's sake, and I think Nunes will definitely grab at least one goal. But anyway, We'll leave it there. Gene, Sylvester, thank you so much for joining me. We'll of course wait and see what happens on the match. We've got loads of pre-match content to delve into, as well as all the post-match reactions. So be sure to catch us in the usual places of the Blood Red YouTube channel on whichever platform you get your podcasts from. But for now, though, thank you for watching and listening. For myself, Patrick Smith, and Gene Sylvester, thank you for your time and your company. It's goodbye for now.